Alright, I'm gonna keep this review fairly short for a couple of reasons. One, because I don't need to say a whole lot about this movie, and two, I feel like absolute crud right now. I don't know what I have, but I feel like absolute crap, so I'm gonna try and keep this short. Of the superhero films that were coming out this summer, I can honestly say this was the one I wasn't looking forward to. I've never really been into Nordic mythology, or ancient gods, or the study of them, or anything along those lines. So I can't say this was something I was looking forward to going in. But I can say I was pleasantly surprised. I actually really enjoyed this movie. With a comic book series that is so grounded in Nordic mythology and beliefs, I'm surprised it translated so well to the big screen. And this certainly isn't your stereotypical superhero movie, because this isn't a superhero movie. This is a god movie. So without getting too much into the backstory of Nordic gods, let me try to describe the story of this film. We're explained through a narration by Anthony Hopkins that basically there are 9 realms in our universe. They're all connected to each other, and one of them is Asgard, home to him, which is Odin, and Thor and Loki and all of the ancient Nordic gods. Then you have Midgard, which is our world, Earth. Then you have other realms thrown in there. I think they mentioned one called Vanaheim, Alfenheim, there's Jotunheim, I don't know what the hell they are. You tell me, guys. Well, as we find out, there is this one realm called Jotunheim, home to the Frost Giants, who basically just want to spread a new ice age across the universe. It appears that the Asgardians are the only ones who have the world's well-being in mind, so they go out and try to fight the Frost Giants and actually defeat them. Thousands of years later, we see that Anthony Hopkins' son, Thor and Loki, are due to ascend to the throne, but of course only one of them can do so, and it turns out to be Thor. But sadly, on the day that he's supposed to ascend to the throne of Asgard, the ceremony is interrupted by Frost Giants trying to break into their weapons vault. This of course pisses off Thor. He travels to Jotunheim and starts beating the hell out of all the Frost Giants. Odin, of course, is upset by this because he's breaking the peace between the two kingdoms, and so Odin banishes him from Asgard and exiles him to Earth, stripping him of all his godly powers. Now, what struck me was that I was really entertained by these scenes in Asgard. Again, for someone who hasn't been brought up interested in all of this Nordic mythology, I found all this really interesting. Now, once we leave Asgard and we come to Earth, the movie basically becomes a whole fish-out-of-water story, where Thor has to go out and mingle with humans without knowing any social norms. He goes out and he breaks glass, he runs into cars, he doesn't know any better because he's never been on the planet before. And all of that's kind of hokey and it gets silly after a while, but you do get a chuckle or two out of it. But that's really just the external story of Thor. We really have an internal story going on here, where Thor is learning how to become a man. Because as we see Thor in Asgard, he's basically, for lack of a better term, a dick. He really is an asshole. I mean, he's a great warrior, but that's all he knows how to do. He only knows how to make war. He's extremely vain, he's egotistical, and frankly, he's not someone who should be on the throne of Asgard. As soon as he is exiled to Earth, almost instantly we see him having to learn humility and how to be humble towards others. Now, this isn't necessarily an original theme for a superhero movie. In fact, we just saw it a few years ago with the first Iron Man film. But it played out really well in this movie as well. And I know it's going to seem odd to bring up acting for a big action film like this, but I just want to point out that all the cast did a very solid job in this movie. The only character I wanted to see more of, or at least see more out of, was Natalie Portman, who portrays Jane Foster, who's the love interest when Thor comes to Earth. She plays this scientist in New Mexico, and for the life of me, I don't know why they didn't give her more to do. I mean, I know why she's there. She's there to serve as the love interest. That's fine. But at the same time, couldn't you give her something more to do than just react to what's going on? And sure, she's working on some sort of revolutionary theory to bridge two worlds together, which just happens to be Thor's world and her world, but she doesn't do much apart from that, besides serve as the love interest. Now, this could just be my standards, because I think I expect more from her in a post-Black Swan era, And again, she was good in this, but I was just expecting the directors to do more with her. But apart from that, everything else in the movie worked very well. So, final rating. As I mentioned before, I had little to no expectations walking into this movie. I was expecting it just to be another road bump on the way to Avengers. But, I was very pleasantly surprised. I'm going to give Thor 3.5 stars. Not the best superhero movie I've ever seen, but certainly a good experience and a great way to start the 2011 summer season. But I did take note of one thing when I watched this movie. There's a scene around the middle of this movie where you see Thor walk out of a bathroom and he's not wearing a shirt. And I was watching this movie the first time through with a pretty packed house, and I saw every woman shift in their seat the moment he walked out of that bathroom. It was like an instantaneous reaction. And whether or not you think this movie is good or bad, it says a lot when you can get that kind of reaction out of every woman in the theater. So, take care.